Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, we got to try that again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Very good, very good. Well, good morning. My name is Chance Hunter. I am a member of AIM and the Committee on Ministry. For the folks at home watching on YouTube, I'm wearing a flannel shirt and an olive sports coat, and I'm wearing hearing aids as well. Welcome to First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. We welcome you in your brokenness and in your wholeness, no matter who you have been, who you are, or who you are becoming. We greet you today with love. I'd like to extend a special welcome to everyone who's watching us on YouTube this morning. During the prelude, please introduce yourself in the comments and let us know where you're joining us from. If you're in OKC, what neighborhood are you in? Or if you're elsewhere, what city are you in? And now the prelude prepares us for worship.
We light our chalice here in our building in Midtown, Oklahoma City, on land that was home to indigenous peoples, including the Apache, Caddo, and Wichita, on land that was taken from the Creek and Seminole and other removed and relocated peoples. Because we are a multi-platform congregation, our chalice today is also lit in Moore, Northwest Oklahoma City, Guthrie, and from the Northwest Expressway, and 32 other locations this morning. We light the chalice as a symbol of our sacred time together. The burning chalice represents the light of reason and science, the warmth of loving community, the cleansing heat of justice, and the flame of hope.
Welcome again to those who are joining us online. Todo el mundo es bienvenido aquí. I am Reverend Diana Davies. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And today I am wearing my blue robe and the closest I could come to a yellow stole in solidarity with the people of Ukraine. And for those who don't see me, I am a 50-ish age woman, gray hair, wearing glasses. Again this morning, our candle of peace is lit in honor of the people of Ukraine, the brave Russians who are risking their safety to protect against Putin's invasion, and all the people and all the world's beings who suffer in the face of war. Let's begin our service this morning with a moment of silence, and if you pray, with a silent prayer for peace. Mir, the word for peace in Russian. Mir, the word for peace in Ukrainian. On the same somber note, I want to let you know that tomorrow is Disability Day of Mourning. Beginning 10 years ago, communities of people with disabilities and disability advocates began to gather to mourn the disabled people who are killed by their own caregivers. At vigils in countries around the world, people gather to read the names of the previous year's victims, and sadly, every year there are more. While we mourn all the disabled victims of domestic violence, a number that has spiked during the pandemic, we remember all those disabled individuals who have been lost to hate, including the approximately 200,000 people with disabilities who were murdered by the Nazis between 1940 and 1945, as well as all those who are disabled who suffer disproportionately during any war. But we want to do more than mourn today. Today, the Accessibility and Inclusion Ministry team of First Unitarian Church has crafted a service that offers a more comprehensive vision of disability, not just the tragic oppressions and losses, not just the evil, lingering effects of the eugenics movement, which included, we must acknowledge, many famous Unitarians. Not just the challenges, but also the creativity, the beauty, the unique perspectives, the power, and the pride of disability. The art, the color, the chiaroscuro, the interplay of light and dark, that is life. That is life for everyone. On this last Sunday of Black History Month, on this Sunday in which we honor and celebrate the lives of disabled people everywhere, it seems appropriate to begin our time of worship with these words from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Quote, "Now let us begin. Now let us rededicate ourselves to the long and bitter but beautiful struggle for a new world. Will you say to us that the odds are too great? Will you tell us that the struggle is too hard? Will your message to us be that forces of life militate against our arrival as full persons, and that you send your deepest regrets? Or will there be another message of longing, of hope, of solidarity with our yearnings, of commitment to our causes, whatever the cost? The choice is yours." And I'm sad to report that Diane Broyles was not feeling very well today. She's fine, just wasn't feeling very well, so she's not with us this morning. She's taking care of herself at home. And so this morning, our opening hymn, "The Dove Will Fly on Mended Wing," will be sung a cappella by Becky Talent and Maureen Harvey.
Religion, culture, creed, and race, each human spirit and each face, we celebrate, we dance and sing, the talents here each one might bring, and take away a newfound song, a newfound voice to act on wrongs, to trust, to heal, to help us call, to stand as one, renewing hope. A people stand, a people call. Come gather here and welcome all. Diversify and celebrate that hopelessness is not our fate. And chains will fall, the shackles break, the earth will rise and powers quake. Justice will roll and freedom sing. The dove will fly on mended wing.
Again, my name is Tim Atkins. I serve as your Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration. Today, I am also wearing yellow and blue in honor of Ukraine. I am both big and tall and wearing rainbow glasses. So for our Time for All Ages, I have a short story and a short little reflection for you. Our story is My Friend Isabel by Eliza Willison. My name is Charlie, and this is my friend Isabel. Even though we are the same age, we are different. I am tall. Isabel is short. I can run fast, but Isabel takes her time. I carry around a black and white stuffed kitty, and Isabel carries around a doll named Meg. I know a lot of words. Isabel's words are sometimes hard for me to understand. Mommy says that differences are what make the world so great. Every Friday, Isabel and I play together. We dance to Stevie Wonder, and Isabel teaches me how to twirl. We pretend to go shopping for grapes at the store. We cry when one of us forgets to share. We drink apple juice and eat Cheerios at the red table and chairs. We bring our sippy cups together and say cheers. Kitty and Meg say cheers too. We go down the big slide at the park. We both like to do it ourselves. We hold hands, and Isabel has soft hands. Mommy is right. Life is more fun with friends like Isabel. Isabel is a child with Down syndrome. That doesn't mean she doesn't look or think quite like Charlie does. Isabel can do many things that Charlie can do, but sometimes it takes her a little longer to do them. Through their friendship, Charlie and Isabel are doing their small part to make the world a more tolerant place. The end. So when I read that story, it reminded me of my friend Mike. Mike was my best friend in Maryland right before I moved here to Oklahoma City. I joined a bowling league at the Duck Pin Bowling Alley right down the road from me where I lived, because frankly I needed to expand my social life some, and they ended up assigning me to a team with Mike. So Mike's about my age, maybe in his late 20s as opposed to late 30s like me, but close enough. He had bowled for a long time growing up, but was also rejoining the league to meet new friends. And Mike is deaf. He let me know that the only sound he could hear was when a fire truck was directly next to him with the siren on full blast. So the first couple of weeks were hesitant, like it is with meeting any new person. We ended up communicating primarily through text messages, as I didn't know ASL. But over the 2 years of our deep friendship, I started learning some basic ASL, mostly how to make fun of him for bowling badly, and we developed our own signs and nonverbal communication as well. But we would still primarily communicate through text message, even if we were sitting next to each other. Eventually, Mike would come over after bowling on Sunday nights, and we'd spend the night playing video games, texting about life, and ordering pizza. It was incredibly sad when I left. We were both crying on my last day in Maryland. He came over to say goodbye and to help me clean and pack. Mike and I still keep in touch and occasionally play video games against each other online. I learned so much about deaf culture from Mike, but I really learned so much about hearing culture from Mike that I'd never really bothered to notice. And hopelessly straight Mike learned about gay culture from me. I guess I could list all of those lessons that Mike taught me, but that would make it sound like the point of our friendship was for me to learn more about deaf folks. Our friendship was just two random guys thrown together through a random encounter at a bowling alley, each of whom was at a time in their lives where they really needed a new friend. He got me through some challenging times, and he confided in me that I was there for him at some of his hardest times too. Just like in the story, our friendship wasn't because of the differences we had. Our friendship was because of bowling. But the differences we had made the friendship even stronger for both of us. And that's the point of our story today. When you become best friends with someone who has a disability, it changes you. Not because you're learning about the disability or trying to save them in some way. It changes you because you've got another amazing, loving friend in the world. And we could all use a few more friends. Thank you.
Every Sunday, we take an offering. Since 2002, all the cash and designated checks from that offering have gone directly to external nonprofit organizations doing good work, our Change for Change partners. For the month of February, our Change for Change partner is the FOZ Collaborative of Meadville Lombard Theological School. Meadville Lombard is just one of two seminaries in the United States that are grounded in the Unitarian Universalist tradition. Meadville Lombard is the home of the FOZ Collective, which is a cohort of religious educators committed to developing inclusive, anti-racist, theologically grounded resources for faith formation. The FOZ Collaborative's work directly impacts people in congregations and other organizations through innovative curricula that dismantle status quo and cultural walls and support people in living meaningful, socially conscious, and spiritually grounded lives. If you're here in the building today, you can leave your offering in the plates as you exit. You can also make your gift by sending a check to First Unitarian. Just write Change for Change in the memo line, or make an online payment through our website, 1UC.org.
We've made one more change to our order of service. Our offertory today is a recording of a Ukrainian folk song. It's called Plivykacha. And Plivykacha is means the duck is swimming. And in Ukrainian folklore, the image of a duck swimming across the water represents a soul swimming to the other side of death. And the words are a dialogue between a mother and her son. The son is going off to war, and he asks his mother, "Mother, if I die in another country, what will happen to me?" And she says, "A stranger will bury you." It's a very sad song, but it is also a song of strength and power and will. It is associated with the 100-some protesters who died in 2014, protesting against corruption, protesting to be more aligned with the West. You may know it as the Maidan protest. And this particular folk song was sung at the memorial for those victims and is associated with protest, with standing up for what is right. So again, this is called 1UCOKC. I invite you to sit in a spirit of meditation.
Залежайте, мамко, буде, ой, це не жаль, буде, мамко, буде, ой, як же ж мені, синку, не жаль я. Ж мені, синку, на жаль, ти ж на моїм серці лежав, ти ж на моїм серці лежав.
Wow. Oh, is this on? Hello? Good morning. My name is Maureen Harvey, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a member of the AIM committee. When our son Kimber was first diagnosed with autism at around the age of 3, I asked the psychologist, "What does this mean?" And she said, "He will always be his own person." At the age of 6, he was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. At that time, there was one book about Asperger's syndrome, and it was written by Uta Frith, who was an assistant to Hans Asperger. Many more books followed, tests, examinations, studies, and treatments. I was pregnant with Kimber when I took my first master's level class on the road to becoming an art therapist. I finished my degree 6 years later and began my career at the VA Medical Center, where I was able to shift my hours according to Kimber's needs and eventually work half-time so I could pick him up from school and transport him to therapies and classes. He was my constant companion, and we had lots of fun together. We never missed a new animated film. We went to museums, parks, and the zoo. Kimber was an early hyper reader, and he had a fabulous memory. As a boy, he memorized all the presidents and the vice presidents in their order. He would wow people with that. Once I saw him making a list of all the countries in the world and their populations from memory in descending order. Later, when I asked him for that list, he told me he threw it away because he left out Japan. But life was far from easy. He would start things and then quit them. He would rage and threaten. He struggled to make real friends and became frustrated and angry. He graduated high school, but they mostly passed him along. I don't think he was ever asked to write a paper. Today, he lives in residential housing in another state, and sometimes he gets into trouble. I worry about him constantly. But with the struggle, there is joy. We go on a road trip every summer, and we have fun. He's a good traveler, and he brings attention to things that I would miss. For 18 years, I worked at the VA Medical Center in mental health, on the inpatient acute care psych ward, and in the substance abuse treatment clinic. Several times a week, I'd lead art therapy groups. I would give each participant a piece of paper and a box of oil pastels, and I asked them to draw a picture of anything. And I played music. Like magic, everyone settled into their own world and drew a picture that expressed what was going on with them. Even if they left it blank, we used the blank page. Sometimes it expresses perfectly where they were, blank. Sometimes they were too concerned with how the art would look to make a mark. And we talked about how often that occurs in life too paralyzed by the outcome to make the first step. If someone was psychotic, you could see changes during their stay as their medication took hold, from seeing many disconnected themes and ideas to organized and coherent pictures. On the psych ward, I participated in my own art therapy groups, and I did my own therapy right there with the veterans, which helped keep my life on track. During my 18 years at the VA, I met many brilliant, creative, fun people who overcame trauma, difficult childhoods, and constant pain. We had a yearly contest where they sang, played music, danced, and recited poetry, their own poetry and their writings. Some were selected to go to the National Veterans Creative Arts Festival, where they performed on a professional stage and showed their artwork, took classes, and made lifelong friends. Actually, they were shown on PBS too. Shortened versions of the Creative Arts Festival show were shown on PBS, which was fun. Sometimes not here, but in other cities. I made many good friends at these festivals I still stay in touch with. They have flourished because they were validated and supported. Sadly, this isn't the norm in our state. Oklahoma ranks 3rd in the nation for rates of mental illness and substance abuse, and at the same time, we are ranked 46th in the nation for spending on mental health care. So we have a lot of work to do. When I think about our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, I see this as an ongoing challenge, for it is human nature to protect ourselves from the unfamiliar. Fear is a problematic emotion. It can cause us to reject someone who's different for no other reason than they are different. This pandemic has heightened this urge to protect ourselves, what with an invisible threat outside our door. I have been noticing lately how easy it is for me to see someone and put them in a box. A homeless person, a soccer mom, a right-wing wacko, when in reality, we are much more than one thing. We are all many-faceted, complicated, layered, creative, expressive people. We are dynamic and ever-changing, learning and adapting, and at the same time, we are unique human beings, each with a special part to play. We all have a loving, caring, accepting, empathic side to us that needs to flourish, and we all struggle with challenges like depression, anxiety, and trauma. Our society will advance when all our members can flourish, and our members can flourish with love, acceptance, validation, and a meaningful role to play.
I am Scott Harvey, and my pronouns are he, him, his. I'm wearing a Stuart plaid shirt and a charcoal suit, and I'm a member of the Sustainable Living organization here at the church. So I am really happy to talk about stewardship today, because our world faces a stewardship crisis. The seed of my Unitarian Universalist faith was planted when I was young. I grew up in the neighborhood of All Souls Unitarian Church in Tulsa, but grew up an Episcopalian. So one day my mom and I were driving by All Souls, and I asked her, "What do they believe?" And she replied, "Oh, they worship the trees and the sky and that sort of thing." And we chuckled, but deep inside, the seed was planted. That was about the time of the first Earth Day, which was more of a welcome diversion from regular school work for me rather than anything else. But again, that new attention on ecology nurtured my emerging green faith. I used to say that I never connected with the Episcopal Church, but I realized that that wasn't entirely true. Going to church every Sunday had to have had an effect on me, especially being part of a liberal congregation with parents who had strong faith. To this day, I keep up with 8 or 10 of my former church friends, and guess what? Most of them are Unitarians. And at least 2 of them with Masters of Divinity. And even those who remained Episcopal they're liberal Episcopalians. So my liberal faith was nurtured in that environment. And of course, my faith has grown steadily since I joined this church in 1987. Like many others, I instantly fell in love with the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. But the web of life has been battered recently between the ongoing great extinction and rapid climate change. The web is tattered and broken in some places, and that's no surprise, since the ethos of individual liberty, which is so prevalent in this country, doesn't really encourage such a perspective. Being a part of something larger than me is crucial to maintain my spiritual health, and it's vital to cope with the doubt that creeps into my soul when another prisoner is executed, when another inmate dies in our county jail, when another war is started, another species dies forever, or another fossil fuel plant is approved for construction. Since 1970, 2/3 of the wild animal population has disappeared, while the number of humans has doubled. So I know that I have to work with others because there are institutions that are keen on preserving that unhealthy status quo. Can members of our church make a difference? Yes, together we can. And with like-minded people from other institutions, we can make a difference. My faith demands I support, financially and otherwise, institutions that work toward healing our world. And Maureen and I can think of no better way to spend our money than supporting this wonderful church and its wide array of activities that build wholeness out of brokenness. One of the efforts we'll undertake soon is the goal of earning Green Sanctuary 2030 status. And if you seem to recall hearing of Green Sanctuary, we did earn that status in 2005, but a lot has changed and a lot more is going to be expected of us because this is one of the great challenges to our species. The vision of this Green Sanctuary 2030 speaks to my heart and resonates with our values. In addition to slowing down the rate of climate change, this goal implores us to strengthen our ability to adapt to climate change, to build resilience in our congregations, and to work towards ecological justice, because climate change does disproportionately affect those who can least afford to do anything about it. So that particular goal of the Green Sanctuary 2030 is just one of the reasons why Maureen and I are increasing our pledge by 10% this year. I can think of fewer things I would rather spend money on than repairing the interdependent web and healing the spiritual brokenness that leads to such destruction. This church has never been more important to me.
Resilient people are always optimistic.
Resilient people are calm under pressure.
Resilient people are self-motivated.
Resilient people are empathetic.
Resilient people have self-control.
Resilient people keep things realistic.
And most importantly,
Resilient people always
bounce back fast.
Good morning. Seriously? Okay, I broke it. Dude, now I have to hold it. This is terrible. My name is Wendy. My pronouns are she, her. I have curly blonde hair most of the time. I'm wearing a navy shirt. I kind of cringe when I hear this word resilience. Sorry, Scott. I have a vision disability. I have to deal with visual issues every day of my life. I've had 16 eye surgeries. I also have a weird connective tissue disorder. I've had 11 broken bones. I've been on crutches. I've been in a wheelchair. How many people remember my purple walker for 7 weeks when I had a hip surgery? And I've had some foot surgeries recently. And then, yeah, I kind of cringe too when I hear this word. So you've got a lot of stress in your life. You need some resilience training. Take a class, go to a course. It just kind of doesn't sit with me when I've had to do a lot of adapting in my life as it is. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie Encanto, number one, you should have seen it. It's awesome. It's so great. Number two, I am going to talk about it today, so I apologize. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. Encanto is this little animated film put out by Disney Studios last fall. It follows this beautiful familia down in Colombia. This family is led by this kind of stern abuela, grandmother, who had a tragedy several years ago you don't find out about till later. But she perseveres, and she has a magic candle. Magic candle, right? And all three of her children have gifts. Her gifts, one daughter makes food that heals people. Another daughter, she's a little emo, and, you know, she gets upset, it rains. And then there's this son, we don't talk about Bruno, no, that he kind of predicts what might happen, and that upsets people because, hey, people get bald, and that upsets people, so he kind of hides away. And then there's multiple grandchildren that have gifts too, and there's three sisters that are kind of followed. There's one, Louisa, who is super strong, and people sort of depend on her to carry their burdens. She lifts heavy things. She even picks up an entire church. I mean, wow, what if we could pick up our whole church and move it? Yay! Although I like where we are. And she's under a lot of stress. She gets stressed out. And then there's Isabella, who's so beautiful and pretty, and she makes flowers grow. It's wonderful. But she kind of has a lot of expectations on her too. And then there's the youngest sister, Mirabel, who didn't get a gift. And nobody knows why. And Mirabel is often told, hey, we don't want to hear you. We don't want to see you. Things are going on, but we need you to just kind of hide away. She's kind of perceived as this less than person. And Mirabel's kind of unhappy about that. But she tries so hard to fit in. She makes handmade doilies to help decorate the house for a party. And yet it's Mirabel that the youngest cousin, when he's scared, he has, anxiety about being seen in public, like Wendy does. And he comes to her and says, please hold my hand. And Mirabel is the one, when there's this family mystery going on, she decides to take initiative and put aside her own worries and figure out what's going on with the family. And at the very end, I'm not going to ruin it, but hey, when literally things are falling apart, it's Mirabel who has the most, I'm going to use the R word, resilience, and says, you know what? I know you're scared you've lost your special gifts, but hey, if we work together, we can build back better, okay? I said I have a sensory deficit. I've sometimes had mobility issues, but I also have some of my own mental health issues. And there was one big event in my family's life. I'm not going to go into great detail, that there's the before and the after. Some of you know, before I went to medical school, 10 days after I finished undergrad at OCU, I had a 5-year-old nephew. And his mother, my sister, killed him. My sister, at the time, had an undiagnosed and untreated severe psychiatric illness. And that was a main trigger for PTSD. Right after that happened, I went to medical school. And for those that don't know, the medical training system in our country is not super nice. It's getting better. But at the time, this was 24 years ago, it was very hard. I spent 100 hours a week. That was the limitation. We could work 100 hours a week. And sometimes we were on call every third or fourth night. And being on call meant that you were physically present in the building for 36 hours. until my second year of residency, where it was restricted to 80 hours a week and 30 hours on call. Ooh. Which nowadays it's down to 24 hours. So good job, good job. Thanks for restricting that. We were often not allowed to, well, it was considered unprofessional to show your emotions. You're not allowed to get angry. You are not allowed to show weakness. If I needed help, I could call an attending at night and say, hey, I've got a question about X, Y, or Z, but you could not say, I'm terrified. I don't know what's going on. I really, really want you to come in because I don't know what to do, but you can't say that. You have to say, hey, I've got a question about patient X, Y, or Z. We could not mourn. If a child died, which I'm a pediatrician, so most of my patients were children or adolescents, it was get right back in there, spend 5 minutes with the family, help them, but then go on to the next room. Bottle up your emotions, and when you're sad, go home and cry. So it was very hard. In Encanto, it's Mirabel, the one who's different, who listens to her family member, who allows them to show their feelings. The older sister, Luisa, who's always so strong, she finally says, I'm strong, but sometimes I feel weak and I cry. And that allows her and Mirabel to become closer together, because Mirabel says, I cry too. Isabella, who's always so perfect and makes these flowers, she finally gets angry and she makes something pointy and spiky. And she's so happy, she starts making all these other things grow. And then she shows her true colors and she says, you know what? I am not happy with this plan that Abuela has set for my life. I want to do something different. And finally, Mirabel allows Abuela the space to share her own grief and say what happened in the past. And because she does that, Abuela finally sees the hurt and anguish that Mirabel has and is able to appreciate Mirabel for all the things that make Mirabel beautiful. So it's taken me a long time, but Wendy has finally learned to feel her feelings. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be happy and exuberant. And it's on my timeline. It's not okay for society to say, oh, your dog died? Get back to work the next week. That's not okay. It's about what's comfortable for me. And again, back to the beginning, I don't really believe in resiliency training. I think it's more about everybody here has resiliency, and it's about strengthening your own resiliency. So how do we do this? How do we strengthen resiliency? I think it's about doing things that makes you happy, as well as helping yourself get the rest that you need. And sometimes it's okay to ask for help. So, Reverend Diana, I need your help right now. So right now I need a hug. And sometimes it's good to do like things that make you happy, like playing my flute or singing.
I'm supposed to sing now, apparently.
Or making beautiful colored things like, you hit it, crochet. So this is a beautiful colored crochet. In the movie, it talks about caterpillars becoming butterflies. So this has a caterpillar and butterfly. And something else that you can do that makes you happy is volunteering or giving gifts to friends. And finally, to conclude, because I know I have to finish because my 7 minutes is up, don't forget, it's okay to feel your feelings. It's okay to cry. Do it on your own timeline. Do things that make you happy, and ask for help. And I won't tell you the ending, but it's a Disney movie. We all know how Disney's movies end, right? They're happy. The end. And now, please join us in a spirit of meditation as we share these words based on a poem by Reverend Teresa Soto called Snowflakes, a Guide. How do we spring back into shape after a long week?
After a week in which war has returned to Europe.
After a week in which the Texas governor has decreed that to support transgender children is to commit a crime.
After a week, a month, a decade, centuries of more of the same old patriarchy, same old white supremacy, same old ableism.
A broken heart that's still not healed, raw but beating. No duct tape will cover these cracks. No glue will mend the gap.
Some people think they can shame you, make you small by calling you a snowflake. What they don't know is this. The snow is bright because the lines and lacy edges, the crystals stacked, reflect back the light shone down on them. And the light keeps shining just as you do.
In this community, you choose each other. You insist on blazing brilliant. Your unique configuration is the universe's expression of what it means to be alive. And together, many snowflakes make a mountain. You return to knowing yourself and being yourself by the clarity of that reflection.
You can lay your burdens down and rest. Lean into the place where you belong. Allow the brightness of who you are, both individual and community, to light the way toward the future you are building with your love.
Disability, the Power and the Pride by Susan Masery. We are your parents and your children, your brothers and your sisters. We are your employees and employers, your students and your teachers, your neighbors and your friends. We are your lovers and your leaders. We are warriors and we are peacemakers. We advocate, we vote. We are not the problem. We are problem solvers. We have strength in numbers and as individuals alone. We are not victims. We will not be pushed aside. We have changed attitudes. We have changed laws. We have changed the world. Tomorrow we fight the inequity that remains. Tonight we celebrate disability, the power and the pride.
Hi, I'm Kate Rottler. My pronouns are she, hers. I wasn't prepared for this. I have shoulder-length-ish curly brown hair, and I'm wearing a navy blue dress with white flowers on it. I'm taking my mask off so I can see. My mask is, oh, dear Lord. My mask is a rainbow mask. Okay. Okay, Chris, now you can go. Can you go back? It didn't start right. Voice simple and clear. It's... Sorry, can you try one more time? I have a voice simple and clear. It speaks the truth for all to hear. It gives me hope, it gives me faith, it lifts me up, it keeps me safe. I have a voice, it's mine alone, it comforts me, it is my own, although it's small, I'm not afraid, for I am strong in its embrace. had seen or understand where I have been, for what I found inside myself belongs to me and no one else. If I were blind and had no eyes to see, still I would hear that voice inside of me. I wish that you could hear it too. I have a voice, simple and clear. It speaks the truth for all to hear. It gives me hope, it gives me faith. I have a voice, I am safe. No one can say what I have seen or understand where I have been, for what I found inside myself belongs to me and no one else. If I were blind and had no eyes to see, still I would hear that voice that lives in me. I wish that you could hear it too. I have a voice, it's mine alone. It comforts me, it is my own. I know it's small, but it is strong. I have a voice, it is my
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of love and community, which burns in our hearts.
I have just a few announcements about next week's service. On March 6th, we will be resuming religious exploration for children and youth. That should take care of that echo. Children and youth are invited, to join their families in the sanctuary for the first part of the service, and then we will sing them out to their RE programs. So that's starting next Sunday. Also next Sunday, we will be offering in-person social time after the service indoors. We're going to try something a little different. We're going to model it after our virtual coffee hours, where people will be divided into small groups to chat in different spaces in the building. And in preparation for that, we need some assistance today in clearing the meeting rooms to ensure adequate ventilation. So if you are comfortable meeting in a small group today, we invite you to stay in your seats after the postlude, after the rest of the congregation leaves out the back doors, and we will get you into a small group to chat. And while you're doing that, we'll be sneaking in with our little CO2 monitor and seeing how that's working out. And a special thing today, if you are interested in participating in our Afghan Refugee Family Support Program, we have 2 families that we are supporting, that a number of volunteers in this congregation have set up apartments and got the furniture and just done an amazing amount of work. And we want to continue to build on that relationship. We don't want to just end it there. So if you are interested in being a part of that, we invite you to, again, stay in your seats at first, and then after everyone else leaves, we're going to invite you to go into Daniel Hall for a brief meeting to talk about that project. Got it? So if you're interested in being a volunteer to clear rooms for our small groups, please stay here. And if you're interested in learning more about the Afghan support, family support program, please stay and we'll explain after the service where to go. And one more happy announcement. Just as soon as we can work out a couple of details, we will be resuming choir practice as early as next week. I know this transitional time as we move from being a virtual congregation to a multi-platform church is really hard and frustrating. And I want to thank you for your patience and for your help as we continue to work through this and move ahead. And now, may you go knowing that even as you leave this building or turn off your computer, even as the chalice is extinguished and our sacred time together comes to an end, community itself never ends. May peace be upon you. May love surround you. Peace, mir, love, love, love.